1.7.1 Introduction to Picking Technique. That is single note picking technique. We focused a lot on fretting hand technique and shaping the notes. And now we're going to focus on the picking hand. And we're going to start with holding the pick. There are many different ways that different very successful guitarists hold the pick. I'm going to start with one that's generally used a lot. I don't actually play like this as much, but this is a good start. So we're going to start with shaping it. Look at the photograph here. You're going to point the index finger towards the saddle of your thumb, place the pick as pictured, and then put your thumb over it. You may either want to rewind this or take a look at the still photographs here as to the process. Okay, so the goal is that we're going to play that melody at the beginning of this video at varying tempos, but we're going to focus more on the picking hand technique and then eventually incorporating the fretting hand techniques that we've learned previously. So for now, those note values that we worked with in the past are coming into this melody now. So this melody is composed of half note rhythmic value, quarter note rhythmic value, dotted quarter note rhythmic value, and eighth notes. All of that was covered previously in detail to a great extent in lessons 1.2, 1.2.1, 1.2.2, and 1.2.3. So if what we're going over here doesn't make sense, it will most likely be necessary to review what was covered in those previous lessons. We are going to warm up with all of the rhythmic values used in the melody at the beginning of the video. And remember the symbols: the upside down square is a downstroke, the V signifies the upstroke, and the down arrow signifies when the foot goes down, and the up arrow signifies when the foot goes up. And another thing which bears repeating, it was the case in the strumming technique that we studied. And what that is that the movement comes from the wrist, not from the elbow. So we're going to apply the same wrist movement to picking single notes as we did to strumming, and avoiding using the elbow going up and down vertically, but more of a, for lack of a better term, a circular wrist movement. All right, now next, we're going to play, again, on just string 3 open, we're going to play the rhythms, but in the order that the rhythm is on the actual musical piece. But again, we're going to play the rhythm phrasing on just one note, and then put everything together soon after. But the most important thing is to get the timing and the technique going. So focusing on picking hand technique, fretting hand technique, and our timing. All right, now I'm going to play the actual melody with the backing track at 40 beats per minute. I have an overdrive sound on my electric guitar. You can do the same, or you can play clean. I just am doing it just to rock it out a little bit. Anyway, so here I go. I'm going to play, and then afterwards, what you can do is you can rewind and play along with me just to get it down, or you can go ahead and go right to the backing track where I'm not playing and play the melody. Okay, here's the raw backing track. And while that plays, you want to look at the notation. And what you can do as a warm-up, do all the stuff that we did before in the past. Practice just getting the notes under your fingers. You don't have to worry about timing at first. Just kind of play through it without the backing track. Don't worry about the timing, just get it down the best you can. And then start incorporating tapping your foot while you're doing it, and then looking at the actual notation. It may seem strange playing along with the drum and the bass line. Try to listen to just the hi-hat, which is playing straight eighth notes, which is pretty much what we had as the click. So before moving on, make sure all of the notes are dead on time as much as you can. Get the notes as clear as possible to where you're not picking the wrong strings, to where there's excess noise. Try to get each note clean with no mess. This is very important before you move on to faster tempos. Now, we're going to move on to 60 beats per minute. That might be a bit of a jump from 40 that we just did. So in the past, you've learned how to set your metronome. So set your metronome to 45 if you want, or 46. Set it to 50. Any marking above 40 to where you're going to play each note clean and in time with the picking techniques that we've just learned and all of the fretting hand techniques that we've learned in the past. So we're going to apply the same exact warm-up drills in the same exact order that we did in 40 beats per minute. We're going to do it right here at 60 beats per minute. And just keep in mind the fretting hand principles, keeping the thumb arched behind the neck, keeping the web and palm of the hand off of the neck, and using your fingertips to get to the notes rather than your fingerprint, which was all covered in detail in lesson 1.4.1 on fretting hand technique. All right, we're going to do everything here at 80 beats per minute, what we did at 60. And remember to, if you can't get this at 80, maybe move down, get a metronome or drum machine, move it down to 65, 70, and work into this 80. Here we go. Right, so we're going to work into the tempo that was at the beginning of this series, which is at 105 beats per minute. So we're jumping up quite a bit, and keep all of the things in mind for getting this tempo clean at 105 beats per minute. We're going to do the same exact drills, do all the things that we talked about going incrementally, no slop, good technique, nice clear tones, playing the notes that you're supposed to, not playing notes that you're not supposed to, your picking hand technique, your fretting hand technique, all those things keeping in mind, getting up to 105. If it's too much of a jump, then go to 85, go to 90, go to 95. Things like that. Just apply common sense principles towards getting to our goal of 105. And we're going to do all of the warm-ups in the same order that we did previously to get to 105. Okay, so it is important to practice clean without distortion. I did play this with overdrive just to make it sound a little more interesting for some of the rockers out there, but one is always best off practicing with a clean, unaffected tone, even on acoustic sometimes, and then coming back to electric and switching the technique a little. But it is highly recommended that one practices clean, that means with no effects, and then put the effects on later once everything sounds right.